how to be an observer and non-judgmental. Yesterday we were speaking about being the witness. It literally is just practice. What the mind does, like the heart loves, as I was saying, the heart loves. What the mind does is the mind analyzes, and the mind judges, and the mind discriminates. From a neurological standpoint, a scientific standpoint, the neurons in our brain actually fire with newness. So if you show, for example, a picture of the same face to someone, our neurons will fire for a little while, but slowly they'll stop firing. There's nothing new about it. If it doesn't move, a new face will get put there. Suddenly all the neurons fire again. We are biologically programmed to newness, means to difference. What is newness? Newness is, this moment is giving me something different than the moment before. If it's all the same, my brain literally, even though my eyes may be open while I'm staring at it, my brain literally shuts off. It realizes I can take a rest, there's no new information coming in, and it shuts, not completely off obviously, but it goes down. And this is important because since the mind functions only in newness, it is going to keep looking for things that are new, that are different, to analyze, to think about. So if we try to do meditation from the mind, you can't. Like you can't do geometry from the heart, you can't do meditation from the mind. The mind is founded upon the principle of being separate from something and looking at it from a place outside. I can look at a math problem. I can look at two different people and see where one ends and the other begins. Differences, separation, distinction. This is not the same dinner as last night. I can look at it. Looks different. Mom, what did you do? Spinach looks funny, right? The mind is able to do this. So the minute we want to do something other than that, I don't want to analyze, I don't want to judge, I don't want to be off in my thoughts, I want to be just still in the witness. I have to move out of the normal activity of my mind. And this is what actually all of the meditation practices that we've been given are for. They give the mind first one thing to do. So they take the mind from being in 1,000 places and they put it in one. A mantra. One image of the divine. One candle flame. One word of God's name. Whatever you choose. Each of them serves the same purpose in that it pulls your mind from all the other places it is, all the judgments, all the analyses, all the lists, all the complaints, all the planning, all the regretting. Pulls it into one thing. In that one thing then, if the mind can get really immersed fully into the mantra, then what ends up happening, or into the image or into the word, the thinking part of the brain stops. And when that happens is when we're able to access the ability to just watch. Because then I'm not in my brain. I'm able to literally take a step back and watch. But it does take practice. It takes practice finding, okay, so my eyes are closed, I'm chanting my mantra, where is that witness? And for me, it's on a personal level, it's literally a visual and almost a sensory experience of feeling myself step back. And in my own mind, feeling my awareness just go, like that, and then turn around and watch the rest. I happen to be a very visual person, so for me there's a visual imagery of stepping back and then seeing my mind, seeing myself. But it doesn't have to be like that, it can be any way. But just give yourself that practice of first bringing the mind into one thing upon which you're meditating, and allow the mind to really just merge into that. So there's no up and down, there's no here and there, it's just merged. And in that moment, allow your consciousness to just take a step back and turn around and watch the mind merged into the mantra. Watch the mind chanting the mantra. Watch the mind merged with the breath. And it'll happen. It'll absolutely happen. It's just not going to happen immediately. By the grace of the Guru, by the grace of the divine, we can have, even with no meditation experience, even with no sadhana, you can absolutely be touched and have an incredibly deep and powerful spiritual experience. But with the witness specifically, what I have found is that actually takes practice. Simply because it's like getting to know a part of you that you're not used to activating. It's like a new muscle in the body that takes a little while in the beginning to kind of find, okay, how do I get there? But once you do, it becomes much, much easier. And then you're able to sit there and watch the rest. And the witness doesn't judge. So once you've been able to do that, the judgment itself ceases. If you find yourself judging, you know you've gotten out of the witness and you're back in the mind. And so it's just about stepping back again. And the breath, lastly, the breath, regardless of what technique you use, the breath is a very, very, very powerful tool. So if you're chanting a mantra, if you're chanting a name of God or several names of God, if you're looking at an image, whatever you're doing, try to add the breath in there as well. The lower, the slower, and the deeper the breath is. When I say lower, I mean physically lower, like instead of being up here, it's down here. The lower the breath, the more it anchors and grounds you. And the more it stills the mind. Whenever the mind is frazzled, your breath is very shallow. And so the breath is a fantastic tool and ally also in stilling the mind.